Hello and welcome back to my classroom. My name is Kasie Oswald, and if this is your first time here, welcome. Thanks for coming. So I've been a teacher with VIPKid for about a year, a little bit over a year now, and I have seen some changes. There have been some big changes even well before I got started with VIPKid. So we have some veteran teachers coming on today. Some have been teaching 2, 3, 4 years, and they're going to talk about some of the major changes that they have been through. So without further ado, we have Cindy Bennett, Teacher Kelly Tagg, Mary Maple, Rebecca F., and Tamra. So thank you ladies so much for doing this, and let's get started.
Hi, my name is Teacher Rebecca, and right now I'm celebrating a very special anniversary. Mine, with VIPKid. It has now been 4 years exactly since I started with VIPKid. And boy, have there been a lot of changes in these past 4 years. Most of them for the better, sometimes for the worse. Lots of strong opinions out there, I know. But let's just take a trip down memory lane. Remembering back to when I first started, August 2016. At that time, there were about 3,000 teachers in VIPKid worldwide, which I thought was a lot of teachers. I mean, 3,000, that sounds like a lot of teachers. I come from a school of like 20. Well, now, 4 years later, we have over 100,000 teachers. And it keeps growing exponentially every month, every year. It's crazy. Thankfully, the students have also exploded as well. So the ratio has stayed consistent throughout the 4 years. Somebody figured out the math once of like how many students per teacher is there, but it has increased at about the same rate, which is kind of nice so that the teachers aren't being oversaturated. But there was a huge boom of teachers growth. Probably around 2017, 2018, we had a whole lot of teachers coming in and we're like, whoa. Okay, so that was, so August 2016, we were just beginning. So fun fact, my first referral was my dad. And now he has been with VIPKid for 4 years as well. And when we interviewed for VIPKid, okay, we interviewed over Skype. And we had to pull up the slideshow somehow nearby. We could not share a screen like Zoom, and they didn't have their own like interview thing. I mean, in the mock class, we went into what looked like the student's classroom, but in the interview, it was over Skype or something similar to that. And my dad asked the interviewer if he'd ever heard of like a father-daughter team. And at that time, that interviewer said, "You're the first father-daughter team that's on VIPKid. You're the first family team that he knew of." Well, now family teams are everywhere. You got husband or wife teams, you've got father-daughter teams, you got father-son teams, mother-daughter teams, aunts, uncles. You've got families doing this and teaching. This is awesome. But at the time, according to that interviewer, we were the first father-daughter team to sign up. It was kind of cool. Cool memories.
Hello, everybody. My name is Teacher Tamra, and I am here to talk about changes at VIPKid. I joined VIPKid in July of 2017. I just signed my 7th contract August 1st, and honestly, I have loved every minute, well, almost every minute of my time here at VIPKid. There have been many changes over these past 3 years, some good, some bad, but changes nonetheless.
Hi, my name is Teacher Kelly. I have been teaching for VIPKid for 2 years. I just had my 2-year anniversary in August. And I've seen a lot of changes over the past 2 years. Most of them have been small changes. So here's one change that I've seen. Okay, so here's the teacher portal. I'm on the classroom page, and it shows you all the classes that are coming up next, from the first one you have next to the second and everything like that. All right, so if you go to all classes, it doesn't show in order. So it used to be that that's how we would see our classroom page, the way that it's on all classes. And every time you were in between a class, you had to scroll through all of that and figure out what day is it, which class, where is it. And same when you went to do your feedback, they didn't have a nice little area that said missing feedbacks. So that's been a nice change. You just go to the portal and the first one on there is your next class. Also, that classroom button, when you get to 28 minutes, it says go directly to the new class. That didn't used to be there either. So that helps you get into the classroom faster if your class goes over for any reason. Okay, another change that I saw is that when I first started at VIPKid, you used to get paid once a month. So it seemed like it took forever to see a check. Well, eventually they added every other week, bi-weekly, which was nice. And now they're doing weekly, which is awesome. It's like a normal paycheck at a normal job. That's a great perk because still a lot of other ESL companies are still doing once a month. All right, so the biggest change that I've seen, of course, is the most recent pay structure, the pay incentive changing, and most people making less money. Of course, this is the change I don't like the most. Nobody likes getting less money. So that's the biggest change I've seen, the most recent one. So those are my VIPKid changes. But most of all, I love working there.
Hello, my name is Cindy Bennett, and thank you for this opportunity to share some things with my other fellow VIPKid teachers. Thank you, Kasie, for making this awesome video. So today is September 11th, 2020, and I just want to give a tribute to those who were affected by the Twin Towers disaster, and I know that there are people who lost loved ones at that time, and my heart goes out to you right now, and this is a day that we're going to be remembering them and thinking about them. And thank you for watching this video. So right now we are remembering VIPKid. I have been with VIPKid for over 2 years. I'm using my phone for this video, so I can't tell you my statistics right now. And I have seen a few changes. And once I started to think about it, there have been a lot of changes. When I first started with VIPKid, there were 2 ways to get hired. We could make a short video or we could do a live interview. And things have changed about the hiring process. Things have changed in the sense that there is a lot more information available on how to go about getting hired from VIPKid. There are a lot more people making videos on YouTube and a lot more people, experienced people that you can talk to and stuff like that. So that has changed quite a bit. Also, when I first started, we had a really cool monetary incentive program. So if you hired up to a certain number of people, you would get bonuses. And fortunately, I was able to hire 3 people in 1 quarter. So I did make an extra $100 bonus that month, that quarter. So that was really awesome. So I've hired I have helped hire 4 people into VIPKid, and it's been really great. I actually made friends with all of them. Actually, one was my daughter. One was my daughter, and she was kind of between jobs, and she gave it a try. And she's not teaching with them right now, but she really loved the opportunity, and she did a great job. And the other ones that I hired are still teaching, and they still love it. So it's
Hi there, my name is Mary Maple from thrivewithmary.com, and today I'm happy to share with you some of the changes that I've experienced with VIPKid over the course of the past 3 years that I have been with them. You know, when I started back 3 years ago, I think it'll be November when I started, the application process was much different than what we see now. Back then, I submitted my application, and then I was invited to an interview directly with someone in head office in China. So that was a short, I believe it was like a 15-minute interview, and I demoed 3 or 4 slides. They wanted to get a first take on who I was as a person and how I presented myself in a much less evolved classroom setup than what I have now. And they wanted to just get a sense of how I spoke and how I would teach those first few slides. After that, I was invited to do my mock classes. And now I believe that you choose one or the other, but at that time we did, I believe it was like a 10-minute demonstration or a 15-minute demonstration of the level 2-3 certification. And then immediately following that, you did, in the same half-hour interview, you did the mock demonstration or the mock class for the level 4-5. So all in one, I was teaching both certifications to a mock class mentor who was in the US or Canada. I believe my mock class mentor was in Canada, and they were taking note of my teaching style and how well I completed the tasks suited to each certification. So after completing that particular interview, where both the mock class for level 2-3 and level 4-5 were included in the half-hour interview, several things could have happened. One option is that if you excelled in that interview with both mock class levels, then you were just immediately hired and certified levels 2-5. If you excelled in one of the mock class demonstrations but needed more work in the other, they offered you the opportunity to come back and have a second interview or a second mock class demonstration, and they would choose the one that you did the best in. So if you excelled in the lower level mock class, level 2-3, then you came back and for that half hour, you did the full lesson for that mock class. Or if you excelled in the level 4-5, you came back and did the full lesson for that level. So those were 2 of the options that happened at that point. For me, I was fortunate enough after my interview demonstrating both the first mock class and the second mock class, I was certified immediately for levels 2-5. So I didn't have to go on to that second part, which really surprised me because I didn't feel like I did particularly well. I knew that I wasn't perfect on my timing, but you know, I hit all the key points they were looking for. And when I was done, I was able, and they asked for my thoughts on how I completed it. I was really frank and said, you know, I didn't watch my timing as well as I could have. I think I could have improved here. And they knew that I had a good self-awareness of the areas that I could improve upon. And hey, I got it. Also, at that point in that interview, they gave us the opportunity to discuss our pay. And I didn't know it at the time, but it was an opportunity to actually negotiate. So I was offered a base pay rate to begin with. And later I learned some people were able to negotiate that and bring that up a little bit. I was very happy with the offer that I was given. It was higher than I had anticipated being offered. So for me, I just accepted that and was, you know, told that should I be given my final offer, that would be my starting pay. And I was happy. Now, going on a side tangent, I am so grateful that I started at that pay because over these past 3 years, I have not had the necessary requirements to earn a raise. And for me, the parts that have been missing for earning a raise have been not teaching enough classes over the course of the 12 months. Because one of the things I love about this job is the flexibility. I have taken weeks and months off at a time to go visit family in Canada, where I'm originally from. I have, you know, just traveled, or I've also had a car accident where I was off work for 6 weeks. All of those things affected my ability and prevented me from earning a raise. So actually, starting in November, my contract renews at the beginning of November. because of COVID, the benefit has been that I've been teaching tons of classes, and it will be the first time that I meet all of the requirements for a raise, and I get one. And this is the very last opportunity with this contract renewal that I will have to be eligible for a raise. So that's another change within the company, and you probably have heard a lot of people talk about the changes to the pay structure, and that's been a really big discussion point within VIP community. So for me, the way the pay change is going to affect me, given that I'm earning this raise and given the number of classes on average that I'll be teaching, I will be staying at basically the same rate as if they had kept the old incentives of $1 per class taught for participation and $1 after a certain amount. So I'm going to, with the raise, stay at my current level when you break it down per class. So in some ways, it's not a raise. It's been an insurance policy to maintain my pay level. So I know some people have been really frustrated with that. What I am still grateful for is that I have the opportunity to work from home.
Okay, so what else has changed in the past 4 years? I'm going to just go run down some list of things that have changed. One is the curriculum. Okay, when I started, we were in the C1 curriculum. Right now we're in the MC, and then you have the levels. Well, we had C1 and the levels, and they were just very sparse. They had a few words here and there. You had to bring out lots of props because there really wasn't a whole lot of content. And those are gone. Like, they're completely gone. I was only there for a few months before they transferred over to the MC. So I felt like I was drowning because I would plan all these lessons and I'd write them all down and put them in my binder. So if I come back to it, I'd have all the notes. And they kept changing the curriculum, going, we're starting brand new. And all my notes went, okay, fine, starting brand new. So for a while we had that transition. And over the last 4 years, we've transitioned a couple times as each unit level has changed and tweaked a little bit per lesson. I know we're heading into another huge overhaul. But in the past 4 years, ever since the MC lessons came out in probably about Christmas time, 2016, we have kept the exact same topics per unit. So level 2 unit 1 has always been this, level 2 unit 2 has always been this, etc. They've all been the exact same title, and we've wanted them to change and mix things up because some units seem harder than other units. But they've always been the exact same titles. Now going into this new one, I don't know if they're going to change those or not, but it was a huge overhaul back in 2017. We had the old classroom. And some of you have been shoved into the old classroom on occasion, even now, if there's IT issues. That's what we lived in. Okay, we lived in that classroom. That was the only option. And the classroom, looked like this. And let me see if I can draw it for you. You've probably seen it. On the replay, it looks like the old classroom. Okay, so the replay, it's stuck. Here's the classroom. Here was the slideshow on this side, the PPT. Here was the teacher's video. Here was the student's video. And then, I think over here was the chat box. So that's where the chat was. And then you have the stars up here. Or maybe the teacher was on the bottom. See, now I can't even remember. It's been so long. I think student was on top and teacher was on bottom. And what made it hard is that I like to look at myself when I teach to make sure I'm like in the right view. So my eyes would go down here. So my camera's up here and I would look like I'm kind of looking down a little bit. I'd try to look in the camera, but I'd have to look over here. I'd have to look here. So my eyes are constantly like moving around. So now they have changed it. Back in, oh goodness, maybe it was like 2017, 2018, they had the app. They started doing the app on the computer. Okay, and this app on the computer was a separate thing you had to download, and you had to teach through that. For about a year, it was optional. and they actually gave you cool money rewards if you downloaded and taught through the little gift boxes. But everybody complained how glitchy it was, and I had an older computer and I did not want to worry about having any IT issues or no-shows or anything, so I was like one of the last people to jump on board. I just did not want to mess with that. But before that, you actually logged in through Chrome. You click the little classroom, it popped up in a separate tab on Chrome, and you taught right through there. But now that Flash is no longer doing what Flash is doing, most companies have to do their own app. So now in the app, you see what we need to see now on it, where you have the videos up at the top and the students over here, teachers over here, right below the camera, which is kind of nice to see yourself. And then we have the PPT here, the chat box over here, and the tips over here. Oh, by the way, the tips on this one were way at the top. Or, okay, this is going way back, okay? The tips used to be written on the bottom of the PPT, which meant that both you, the teacher, and the students were able to see the teacher directions. Yeah. Great for level 2, who just had like one word on there. But with level 5, when they'd have these like short answers, you'd ask the question, then I could see some students went to the bottom and would just read off the answer. Those little stinkers. So as teachers, we'd start with those questions and answers, and then if we really want to test them out, we'd ask a different question that's on there, or a different way, or encourage them to answer a different answer, because then they couldn't cheat. See, now they're off to the side where only the teacher gets to see. The students can't see that anymore. Down here it's blank. That was a good change, I think.
Some other changes are that we have the app. So when I first started, we were able to teach on the browser. So you're able to go into your browser, go into the portal through your computer, and they have since changed that, and now we have an app. I am the administrator for the VIPKid iPad users group. And when I first started, I realized that my computer was not going to be strong enough to work for VIPKid. So I ended up using my iPad for 1,000 classes, and it worked great. And since that time, they have added an app, and working off of your iPad is a great option. There are some limitations to the iPad where you don't have the AR stickers and a few other things, but for the most part, there are people who just use the iPad exclusively, and they absolutely love it. And back then we could too, but they've changed it to where now we have the app. You can't use Chromebooks now. Some people started out with Chromebooks and now they're not usable anymore.
When I joined VIPKid, they were having a rapid hiring spree. Many people were hired around the same time I was, and they grew exponentially overnight. I was somewhere in the 10,000 range of applicants, and when I went to Journey in Washington, D.C. in 2019, they mentioned that they had over 100,000 employees, teachers. That is just in 2 years. Just over 2 years, they had grown 10 times from about the time when I was hired. It's just amazing to me, all of the growth at VIPKid. But along with growth comes turmoil as well.
Hello. Check this out. Okay, check this out. Check this out. This is the real, legit VIPKid hoodie. VIPKid down the side. It's Dino in the back. It's got these fun zippers. This is a half zipper that has a little vent that opens up like this. Here's a full zipper. It's got pockets on this side that are deep pockets, whoop, all the way to the front. And on the inside, those other pockets go down here, so you get some pockets on the inside too. You can put stuff in. Yeah, it's like a stretchy material. Stretch. So back when I earned it I didn't think I could. Okay, the hoodies came out in 2018. At that time, the very first teachers of VIPKid were heading into their 6th contract. They're going to sign the 7th one pretty soon, which is their 3-year mark. And there are only a few teachers doing the 3-year mark. It was a pretty impressive thing. Okay, at that time, I was only at the 2.5 year. So they said, we want to honor those first teachers to reach their 6th contract with a free hoodie. And it was a big thing. I mean, it was great. But I remember them saying in a weekly update, this will only last for 1 year. Okay, so it was like just January 2018 to December 2018, you get a free hoodie if you signed your 6th contract during that time. I was going to sign my 6th contract February 2019. I'm like, no, I'm going to miss it because I wasn't here long enough. But then people kept getting the hoodies. And in February, I signed my contract. In March 2019, I got the email saying you can now order your free hoodie. Downside, it is coming from China and it might take 3 months to get here or longer. I'm like, okay, well, whatever, it's free, sure. So in March, I ordered my VIPKid hoodie. In June, it arrived. And in June, I'm like, I'm hot in this hoodie. I'm pregnant. Not now. This is the after the belly pregnancy. But like, okay, I get to fit. Now I still fit into it, you know. But later that year, 2019, they go, whoa, 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 whoa. We can't afford to dish out this many hoodies this much. I mean, back when we first started, maybe 50 teachers per month were getting a hoodie. Well, now we're looking at hundreds of teachers per month getting the hoodies because we have so many more teachers now than we did 3 years ago, 4 years ago, etc. So now you have to pay for it yourself. You get the honor of buying a hoodie because it's only offered to those who reach their 6th contract, but you do have to pay for it. Plus side, it comes from America, so you get it within a week. It's like, there it is. So, I mean, there's pluses and there's downsides. You don't have to get it if you don't want to get it, but I was near the tail end of getting the free hoodie, and I didn't think I would be able to get it because they were giving grace, and they were allowing teachers to keep ordering it for free. They didn't let us know that. So when they stopped doing it for free, people were like, but when you look back, you think back, and you talk to people who've been here longer, you realize, oh, they were giving us grace. They just didn't tell us they were giving us grace. Yeah, so that's my hoodie story.
So when I think about all the changes that have taken place during my time with VIPKid, it's easy to look externally and see, yes, the hiring process has changed, the certification process has changed, the pay structure has changed, the curriculum is constantly changing, and new courses and levels are being added. And all of that is true. And the consistency is my relationship with my students. And the other place of biggest change for me is my relationship to teaching, my ability to master the content. When I first started, I felt so sick to my stomach when I had my first class scheduled. And after teaching it, I started developing my own system, and each lesson got a little bit easier. I was a little bit more comfortable doing back-to-back classes. Now, you know, I don't even blink at the number of back-to-back classes I do, where at one point I would have been like, oh my God, there's no way I can do that. So the biggest changes are my evolution as a teacher, my understanding of what the kids truly need, and learning those techniques that have become most effective. You know, no longer being so focused on teaching the slide, but having the slide be a touch point for really customizing each lesson for the students so that they get the best learning experience possible. I'm not afraid to diverge from the direct content on a slide. You know, my regulars know that I cover everything on the slide, but if they're really good at already reading it, I don't need to listen to them reading it all word for word. I am going to highlight sections I want them to read, and then I'm going to engage with conversation and draw out things that are maybe not not on the slide, but related. So that extension or the simplification. If I have a student that is in a level that is too advanced for their current ability, knowing how to scaffold down has become something I've become much more comfortable with. So I think the biggest evolution, the biggest change has been within, knowing that as a teacher, I am constantly learning new ways of interacting, relating, and presenting material that really help these kids get the joy of learning a new language. And there's nothing more exciting, and that's what keeps me here.
So, one more really cool feature that I remember them adding to the VIPKid portal, which is great, is the feedback edit button. Okay, back when I first started, once you pressed submit, that was it. It immediately went to the parents. So if you realize later that there was a glaring typo, or maybe you put the wrong name on it, it was gone. It was it. It was done. Then they added the edit button to the regular feedback. And I've had to use that a couple of times where I see it submitted going, oh, I forgot. I'll go to edit and I'll do that. And I think now it's finalized within an hour or something like that. So you have some grace period to change things. But they did not have that for the UAs yet, the unit assessments. With those, you submit it, it's done, it's gone, it's out there, it's to the parents' hands. Then they added the edit button for UAs, which is awesome because I remember one day I was tired. I finished my classes, I went to take a nap, I came back later to do the feedback. I had 2 classes to do, like a Susie and a Tina or something like that, and I accidentally swapped them. When I copied and pasted my written feedback from Feedback Panda, I put it into the wrong one and press submit, and then this one press submit, and I realized going, oh no, I gave them the wrong feedback for the wrong lesson, for the wrong name. Oh no. And there was no edit button. So I had to open up a ticket. And I sent a ticket to VIPKid and said, okay, I put the wrong feedback in. This is what I want you to put in. And they were able to swap it in, given what I had put my real one. I felt so horrible after that. It's only happened once in 4 years, but I felt so horrible that I had swapped feedbacks. Then later, well, okay, I did that one other time with the regular, and I didn't notice until 2 weeks later when I went back to teacher again. In the teacher-to-teacher feedback, it had my copied and pasted teacher-teacher feedback from somebody else and a different name on it. I'm like, wow. Thankfully, it was a regular. She didn't care or whatever, but I'm like, I know it's going to happen. So I'm really glad that I now have the edit button. Yes.
So when I was hired, we had a web-based, it was all on the web page. You went to the VIPKid website and you opened your class whenever you wanted to. You opened your class and you had to upload the materials, the class materials. And that's how you started your class. Some people actually uploaded a story at the end. They would have a book, an online book or something that they could have to read to their students at the end of class. And there were some other creative measures that teachers took to incorporate other learning materials into the classroom. That all changed when they developed their app. They developed an app that first was recommended and over time became mandatory. So now you cannot teach on a website, you must teach on their app. There's also no way to upload any materials except theirs. And in fact, you can only use the lesson that they have given you for that class. Another big change that occurred is that when I was hired, you just send an email to get certified for a new level and you're certified. One email, I'd like to be certified for level 5, and you are certified. This is also the case with opportunities. They gave teachers many more opportunities outside of teaching, whether it be mock class mentors or the rep program or FastPass coaching or anything of the sort. They would send an email out, a mass email to all of the teachers saying, would this be something that interested you? And you respond yes or no, and you would either be certified or not. And I like that. I like that. I liked, when I started, I felt like we were more of a family. I felt like we were more of a unit. I felt like the company had our backs. We had the company's back. It felt like a startup for sure. There were some startup flaws, if you will, but they have improved greatly over time. They've improved the training, they've improved the app, they've improved the student base, they've improved a lot over the years. But they have also gotten so large that you don't feel like you're special anymore, I guess. I feel like the changes with the rules, for example, if your computer's not working right, you'll probably get a no-show. You know, they're not as lenient with teacher ITs. They always take the student side, even if the student is wrong. They'll take the student side for a class cancellation or whatever it may be. If the student gives you bad feedback or poor feedback, they'll take the student's side 9 times out of 10, pretty much. And I just feel like things, you know, you're just a number. But on the flip side, your students are loyal. Your students are, my students are why I'm here. My students are my everything. I love them dearly. Thank you to VIPKid. I was even able to go visit some of them in China in October last year. And it's just been a wonderful experience getting to know my students, getting to know their families, and really forming that special bond. I'm on WeChat with many of them, and I love them dearly. And I never would have formed that relationship had I not come to VIPKid as my teaching platform. And so if there's an issue with the classroom, if there's an issue with the firemen, I've tried to get a hold of firemen who used to be there like that, and now it takes 12 to 15 minutes to reach a fireman. The tickets used to be personalized, and now it's just a standard form reply. There's a lot of changes that have made this company a lot more it's not so personal as it used to be. But that's not why I'm here. I'm here because I love my students. VIPKid has some of the best training now available, the best workshops. They have an amazing platform, and I do believe that they still care. They still care about us. They have an excellent program, volunteer program for rural China. They have an excellent Facebook group, to be honest. Eric is invaluable, and for VIPKid to hire someone just to help with teacher communications is phenomenal. And I feel like they do still care about us. It's just not the same. The pay, I understand why our pay structure changed. There were a lot of complaints about teachers never getting a raise. There were a lot of complaints about the feedback and all of the criteria, and they did go a little on the other side. It is sad that the majority of teachers received a pay decrease. especially because many teachers are so loyal to VIPKid, and it was kind of it almost felt like a stab in the heart, you know. If VIPKid said, hey guys, you know, we're struggling a little bit and we need to implement this in order to keep you all here, that's one thing. But they just said, you know, you guys complained, so we've changed it. And that's not at all what teachers wanted. So it makes it a little bit more challenging that way.
Another change was the time. The times changed where they took off after 9 p.m. Beijing time. So that was a real bummer. A lot of people lost 2 classes per day because of that. So that was a big change. One change that I noticed that I hadn't really thought about in a while, is the e-cards. Since I first started, in between there somewhere, we came out with e-cards and we could actually write to our students a personal note. That was so awesome. I loved it. And now we can do e-cards, but it's an automated system. So you can't really write personal notes to your student. I really did love that capability of being able to personalize the e-cards. I would love it if they could come back with that. About the firemen, yeah, that has changed a lot. Mostly since the COVID-19 shutdown, the firemen have not been as available as they used to be. And that's kind of a bummer. There are some automated responses to your calling the firemen. Like if you call the firemen, you can't see the student, we're going to switch lines right away. And back then, the fireman was a lot more personal and could talk to you and ask you questions, and you could work things out between you and your student. So that is a really big change that's kind of tough. Let's see. So since I've been teaching, they did come out with the AR stickers, and I do like those. I do teach on my computer a lot now, and I do like the AR stickers. I don't think they're absolutely necessary. I don't use them throughout the whole class, but today I really did have fun using them with one of my students, and we were laughing a lot. So the AR stickers are really fun. They're a great addition. Another thing in the curriculum, the trials have made a lot of changes. There are new trials. There are a lot of trials. Usually when I do trials, I get trials that are like directed to that particular student, and I don't have to switch to a different trial very often. But way back a couple years ago, it seemed like switching trials to match the student's ability was more common than it is today. There's also some new trials. They keep coming out with more and more new trials. Another thing about the curriculum is now we have level 8. I have certified for level 8, but I've yet to teach any level 8 yet. About the curriculum, I think there is a lot more variety in the curriculum now than there was back then. They're always coming out with new courses and stuff like that. And way back when I started, I certified for everything right away. Now when something new comes out, I don't always jump on it, because when you have a variety of lessons to teach, it's kind of, the more you're certified for, the more different classes you're going to get. So I don't know. I don't always get majorly excited about all the new courses coming out. So there's a few that I haven't certified for just because I don't maybe want to teach those classes. But there are some classes that I am certified for that I would love to get booked for, like level 8. And I do really like the voice of VIPKid. I would really love to have a few more of those, but I guess I'm not I'm not the requested teacher for those.
Okay, so speaking of incentives with the app, the incentives were so much better back then. Well, think about it. There were only 3,000 teachers, and a year later there were 10,000 teachers. But students kept increasing exponentially, so we needed teachers to open up slots. And so they would incentivize us saying, okay, open up this many spots, we'll give you money. Open this many, we'll give you money. And so you could like bank just by opening spots. And one Christmas, okay, and their incentives were crazy complicated. I mean, it was like, if I do this, I do this. If I do this, I'm in this category and I do this, because everything was communicated to everybody in one big, if you do this, do this. Now they tailor make it. So they give you a individualized email saying, if you, Rebecca, do this, then you get this. And we don't know that it's different than others until we kind of post it on Facebook and we compare each other's, but you're not supposed to compare. But back when they had the first communications, they couldn't individualize incentives. It was just all, here you go. If you open this many spots, you get this much, this many, this much. And we'd look at these charts going, I think I get it. I think I get it. Well, I'm just going to keep opening my spots and I'll get whatever I get. And you'd get extra money for working Christmas Day or Christmas Eve. And I'm like, my kids have the same schedule anyway. Why not work a couple hours before we open our presents? Yay for bonus money. Let's see, well, we got money because there were no tokens. There were no tokens back then. Tokens are a new thing. So maybe like 2 years ago or something like that. No tokens, no hutong. Every communication was put on Freshdesk. Okay, and Facebook. And Facebook was just for like the teachers to talk to each other. There was a main education Facebook page, but at that time it only had like 1,000 people in it, and it was a dead group. I mean, I would go in there every once in a while and there'd be no activity at all. So I was involved in other groups that were active. You could ask questions to, you can get answers to, some of the unofficial ones. But the official one, that was like dead. But then later on, Eric Sean came in and whoop, bringed it back to life. And so now that's a poppin' group that's full of good information. If you want to go to it, he's pretty timely about putting out like status emails saying, whoa, okay, system's down, don't freak out, you'll be fine. So I do like that. As a lot of Facebook groups have gotten bigger, there's more negativity in them. So just, be aware of that. But yeah, it was all about Facebook. No tokens, no hutong, no VIPKid store, no swag. Swag came later. No meetups. And when we did have meetups, they were like regional meetups. Okay, I live in Idaho, and I really, really wanted to meet with other teachers in Idaho. And we'd have these meetups like 4 hours away. I'm like, 4 hours away. I live in the capital city of Boise. Why are we way over here in Rexburg? Because that's where the teachers were. So I decided I'm going to start one up in Boise. I'm going to start a Facebook group. We're going to see who's around here. And then somebody came out with the first meetup. And now we've been able to meet up every few months. Well, until COVID. But that's where I earned some of these swags. I got all kinds of swag from them. Dinos and shirts and pencil cases. I got some of these and I got some of these. And now you can earn swag. You can buy swag. You can earn swag from meetups. So those are fun to go to, but they weren't around. So that's kind of fun.
Another really cool change is that we have a lot of ability to put in new videos on the portal. I don't always update those videos frequently. Personally, I've had my same welcome video for at least a year now, and it seems to be working. I'm fully booked. I'm not getting all uptight about changing it. I did just change one of my pictures, one of my like personal pictures. I did not change my main picture on my portal. I've kept that the same. It seems to be working, so I'm fine with it. One of the other changes that I'm sure the other teachers are going to talk about is the pay change. Fortunately for me, I got in on the last pay raise and I'm still on the old pay where you get $1 for being on time and $1 for your classes over 45 classes. And I love that way to get paid because it's easy to calculate. And the new way for being paid is a little tricky. But there are some teachers who have made up a calculator that you can plug in your number of classes and figure out how much you're going to get paid. And I don't really like it, but it is what it is, right? We're learning to adapt nowadays.
So, one of the biggest changes, the best changes that happened my first year or so, I started August 2016, so about winter, spring of 2017, they introduced the app on the phone. And that was when you could access your classes there. You could start viewing the materials on your phone. Because when I started, this is like dinosaur era, okay? The only way you could access the PowerPoint was through your computer. You had to go into the classroom and upload the PPT and look through the slides. And you could only do that within 48 hours of the class. So I was constantly prepping the night before. Well, one day, I'm in my car, I'm in a parking lot, my mom went to a store, so I was sitting down and I thought, hey, I've got 10 minutes, let me just look through the slides on my phone. I couldn't. I logged in through the web browser on my phone, but because my phone doesn't support Flash or whatever, you could not get into the classroom. You could not teach through the phone, so therefore you couldn't go into the classroom on the phone, and I could not view the materials. So later that night, I had to carve out some extra time to go look at the PowerPoint. It is so nice to be able to pull up your phone and look at the materials on the phone. You can look at the materials on the materials tab. You can see what other teachers have said about that. So good. Another change that I like that happened is they added on the 8:30 a.m. Beijing time slot. Now I know it's still not booked very often. It still can't get booked with trials. You can only get major courses. For a long time, that was not even an option. You had to start at 9 a.m. Beijing time. So my evening times started at, whatever that evening time is. Then I got to add that extra half hour, which is kind of nice. So sometimes those get booked. It's kind of nice to start a little early. Another big change is show names. Right now, my show name is Rebecca F, and that's the show name that I give to my parents so they know who I am, because there's a lot of Rebeccas out there. Okay, when I first started, it actually said our first and last name. That's just what it was. And there weren't that many teachers out there. They had first and last names, and then at some point, probably for privacy reasons, they said, okay, you have your first name and we're just going to give you random letters for your last name, for your show name, to differentiate from somebody else. But maybe this way the parents can't find you on the internet or can't find you on social media. They have to ask permission to search for you, which I like. It's good privacy. So for a long time I thought it's because my last name starts with F that I was Rebecca F. But no, it just randomly happened that way. Yeah, so that was a big change, and I had to start not putting my last name on my feedback.
I miss the days where you had considerable incentives for working over Christmas, or for opening up slots during the summer, or for extra peak times. I remember my first Christmas, I made about $200 extra just for working on Christmas. And they had those programs that were extremely beneficial and made a huge difference in our lives. And now you'll get 5 tokens for working over Christmas, and it's just not the same, And if VIPKid is struggling, I strongly believe if they had just reached out to teachers and let us know, hey, we're struggling a little bit. If anybody has ideas or if anybody has suggestions, let us know. Let's all work together to improve VIPKid and make it the best ever. I really believe that many teachers would jump on board and help and support, because VIPKid has certainly changed a lot of lives. They've certainly improved a lot of well-being and a lot of situations, paid off a lot of debt. And they're proud of that. And Cindy Me especially has the biggest heart of any CEO that I'm aware of. And I believe she truly wants the best for her teachers and her students and everyone. But I feel like it's becoming out of touch, and it's just no longer the same company. I personally have added on 3 more platforms since February, I believe, January, and just this year. And I used to be 100% loyal to VIPKid, but I just felt like it was time. It was time to find a company that values me as a teacher, find a company who wants the best, not only for the company, but for each teacher, each student, each employee. And I believe a lot of teachers are doing that. You know, people always say, don't put all your eggs in one basket. And that's the truth, especially with online teaching. And I didn't believe that to be true for a long time, because I felt like VIPKid would thrive, would succeed, would always have our back. And it just seemed like month after month, there was another change that just was almost signaling trouble without telling people that there was some trouble, if that makes sense. And it saddens me, you know. I went to 2 journeys, and the journeys are just an amazing time for VIPKid teachers to come together, a sea of orange, and we are all there because of our pride, because of our love of VIPKid. We all, thousands and thousands of teachers, want the best for VIPKid, wants the best for our students, wants the best for our relationships, even our country relationships. We feel like we have, you know, part of our heart is now in China, which was not felt like that before. And VIPKid truly is making a difference. And I believe they were the first to truly make a difference between North American teachers and Chinese students and families. And it's been wonderful. The changes, I don't really care for many of the changes. You know, VIPKid is the first to implement teacher training. They're the first to implement, you know, their platform-based app where we have access to our students. We have access to many resources, but on the flip side, you know, they're the first to lower our pay. They're the first to start implementing all these rules that don't treat us like adults anymore, don't support us as much as they used to. And that's the hardest thing for me, is that I feel like, you know, as much as so many of us pour our hearts and souls into teaching and into our students, there have been the few that have ruined it. And unfortunately, these are the results of the complainers and the liars, basically. So anyway, that's my story, and I hope this is what you're looking for, because I wasn't quite sure. But yes, there have been many changes over even these 3 years that I've been with VIPKid. And again, some are for the best. I really like the training. I really like the app. I really like that everything is in one spot. I really love the phone app. I loved when I could communicate freely with each of my students. I'm sad that now they had to do form communications or form letters. You can no longer say what you want to say and ask the questions you want to ask. And it's just unfortunate that there are those, you know, rather than getting rid of those independent contractors, which they have every right to terminate a contract, rather than doing that, they made it more difficult for all of the teachers who which most of us, I would say the majority of us really do care. So anyway, thanks for listening. Goodbye.
Let's see. Let's talk about more of the classroom stuff because this was fascinating. I'm sorry if I'm going on tangents. In our first classroom, UAs, Unit Assessments. Okay, this is going way back, okay? Right now, we can pull up our unit assessment right here, and it covers over the chat box and feedback. And so we can look at the PowerPoint, we can score as we go. It's beautiful. It saves it. You can come back and do the comments later. Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay? Think back a few years ago. We're here. Here's the PowerPoint. You click on feedback button. It goes to the bottom. You have to scroll. Okay? So now you're like zooming way out. Okay, make everything smaller so you can see like one question at the bottom. And you want to see the whole PowerPoint and you want to see the student's picture. So you zoom out down to like 60% instead of 100 so you can see that one question. And you scroll the little questions up one at a time until you get to the bottom. You can't really see much ahead because you have to keep everything there. It was really hard to see. Okay? Now, think way back. When I first started, you had to press feedback, download the UA, open it up in MS Word. You'd have to click the little bubbles or check marks or something, circle things. I don't know what you had to do actually. You had to click something for each question. And then at the end, me, had to add up all the scores. It was not automatically. I had to go through and go, okay, well, if they got all 10 questions right, times 3, okay, that'd be 30. Well, times 2 would be 20 points, but they missed one here, so it's 19 points. Yeah, I had to do that. And I was always worried that my math would be wrong as I would subtract certain points and add them up weird. And then when you're all done with that, you put the comments on the bottom and you upload that back into the classroom. So then the parents had to download it onto their computer. Yeah, that's going way back. I think I did that for the first 2 months and then they stopped. They were able to do it in the portal and you could just do everything right there, which was awesome. By the way, my very, very, very first class was a UA. It was a unit assessment over a unit I had never taught before, I had never seen before. And I was so glad the answers were on the rubric because I wouldn't have known all the answers.
Oh, yeah. One really big change, and I have a video on my channel all about the hoodie. Yeah, I have 2 videos about the hoodie. The hoodie was a really kind of a thing that when I first started 2 years ago, at the 6th contract, everyone was supposed to get a free hoodie. And then about a year ago, they changed it so that we can get the hoodie, but we have to pay like $35 for it. And so that's kind of a little bit of a bummer, but I'm still going to buy the hoodie. My 6th contract is coming up. So if I have the opportunity and it's still available, I'm going to go ahead and buy the hoodie. But that was, and one time there was a girl that she ordered the hoodie recently, a few months ago, and she got a skillet. But I don't think that's a thing. I don't think we're all going to get a skillet and a hoodie. But somehow she got a skillet and a hoodie because they sent her the wrong thing. It was really kind of funny to read about. And I also did a funny video on that one. One of the biggest disappointments of the last year for me has been the Journey. No more Journey at this time. I was supposed to go to Journey in Atlanta and I really wanted to meet some of my friends from YouTube and my teacher friends, and unfortunately the Journey is no more. So that's a real big bummer. There have been some meetups online though, and some of my friends have gone to those and they've really enjoyed them. So hopefully I can work into going to some of those online meetups, but as they were scheduled, I wasn't able to go. But the last journey was supposed to be in Atlanta. I had my ticket. I was ready to go, but I backed out the day before we were going to go because that's when everything started to shut down. So that was a really big disappointment. I was really looking forward to meeting all my friends in person. But as things get better in our country, I'm hoping we can do some traveling and make some plans to meet up with Kasie, Kelly. I think we have some plans. Evelyn, we're going to meet somewhere, right, guys? I really hope that that's going to happen. I hope that we set a date and we just do it. I just want to do it. I want to meet you guys. And maybe we can invite some other teacher friends when we can meet up with a bunch of people and it's allowed and we're all going to survive, right? All right. So that's what I came up with for changes for VIPKid in the last 2 years.
Okay. Another thing that was around back when I started was minimum hours. VIPKid required you to open up 7.5 hours a week, which is 15 slots. They're all 25-minute slots. Okay, you have to do 15 slots, and I think they had to be in the peak time slots, which is the 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Beijing time. Yes, we could go all the way to 10 p.m. back then. Yeah, that was nice. That was just changed from, I guess, 1 year ago in 2019. Chinese government got rid of the 9 and 9:30 time slots. But back then we could do 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. were the peak time slots. Well, peak times and then 7 to 9 were peak times. Yeah. And you had to open up 15 time slots in those anywhere you wanted to per week. Okay, it was required. Now, I came in ignorant and I thought, oh, well, if I open up 15 time slots, I'll get 15 bookings, right? Well, kind of. It was a slow start, but not as slow as it is now. And I slowly worked my way up to those 15. And to incentivize us to do that, they had the incentives where if you teach 30 classes or more, you get an extra 50 cents on. If you teach 45 classes or more per month, it changes it to $1 per class more. So 45 plus classes a month would be an extra $1 per class. And that made sense to me back then. Okay, it made sense to me because they needed the teachers to open up their slots. The motto was part-time work, full-time fun. So it was going towards part-time stay-at-home moms, part-time, people who want to work just part-time and just want to do those like 10 hours a week. Okay, this wasn't geared for somebody working 40 hours a week. That came later. Now the slogan is, was it like live locally, teach globally? That's the new slogan. Oh, in with the 7.5 hours a week, okay, you could only take off 2 weeks per contract, 6-month contract, and those 2 weeks could not be consecutive. And you had to put in a ticket requesting for time off. Now people got around that system and go, okay, well, if I have to do 7.5 hours, I'm going to do Sunday, Monday, get those 7.5 in, take the rest of this week off, take this week off, and then work Friday, Saturday, 7.5 hours. So they were able to get like a week and a half off by doing the front and the tail end. So people could do it, but they had to be strategic and get these full days out. Now you can take off as much time as you want. Just don't open your slots. You're fine. Come back when you're ready. No minimum hours. It is complete freedom. You just have to, know what works best and what books best and stuff. It's a lot more laid back. Also back then you had to wear orange. Okay, it could be long sleeve, short sleeve, sweater, but it had to be orange. A few months after I started, like back in 2017, they said, okay, you don't have to wear orange. We're no longer going to put it in the contract. You can if you want to, but it's not required. You just have to wear something nice, okay? Nice and modest. But orange is not a requirement anymore. I am lazy. I still wear orange because, I get up at dark 30. I put on a shirt and I teach. Let's see, what else? Well, some things that have not changed are the cancellation policy. That has stayed the same, where if you, okay, in your 6-month contract, you can have 6 cancellations, and then you'll be put under review. Now, those 6 cancellations is not 6 classes, it's 6 cancellations. Okay, the first 3 classes of the day counts as 1 cancellation. 4 or more in a day is 2 cancellations. Your max per day, per 24-hour day, has always been 2 cancellations. But it still stinks that if you miss 3 days in a row, that's 2, 2, 2, well, there's your 6. So I've always wanted them to change that a little bit, but they haven't. But at least it's not 1 per class, because then if you miss 1 day of 6 classes, that's it, you're gone. So at least they give a little bit, spaced out. So and that has not changed. In 4 years, that has been the same. The only thing they've done to kind of change that and help that out is having these soft and medium cancellations. Back when I started, there was no soft and medium. You could send in a ticket saying you had a medical emergency. You might get forgiven for that. I never had to do that, but I've heard people would have to do that and they'd be forgiven. But then they started being, okay, we're going to lay down the law of what follows this, a medium, what's a soft, what's not counted. We're going to have these like rubrics to go through. Another change, big change, that led to a lot of complaining on Facebook, is the raises. Okay, now I think it applied to people who came a little bit before me, but they were promised that they would get an automatic raise, a 50-cent raise or a dollar raise or whatever raise, every contract or every year regardless. So they just plugged away and they knew that every year they'd get a raise. Okay, so I started August of 2016. In about June, July of 2017, okay, I was nearing my 1-year anniversary. And VIPKid made a change saying there's no more automatic reviews. You cannot just send a ticket in and ask for a raise. No, you have to earn the raise. And they had this whole criteria of things you had to earn. How many classes taught per year? How many PPT times taught per year? How many no-shows? How many cancellations? Parent feedback. And you had to hit these qualifications to get your raise. And you get 1 shot per year, and it's once a year raises, and if you make it, you make it. If you don't, you start over square one. You can try it again the next year. I've been blessed and lucky, especially with the no-shows part, to make it all 3 raises. 4 raises? Yeah, first year, second year, third year, and I just got my last raise. So now I'm at the top that I possibly could be, because they've ended the raises. That's a very, very recent change where they go, boop, no more raises, no more 45 plus classes a month gets the extra $1. They have a whole new tiered system, which, okay, I'm probably going to get shot in the foot at with this. I'm ready for it. I think it's fair. Okay, when I started, they needed teachers to open up those hours. So they had a very low goal. 45 classes a month is a low goal. Okay, you can get that if you open up the minimum hours. If you open it 15 time slots a week, that's 60 slots a month. If you hit 45, you get that bonus. So that it was low. If you hit your minimum requirement, you'd get that. But now we have people opening up 300 time slots a month. We have people working full time. We have 100,000 teachers. Some people think we have too many teachers. So why do we have such a low requirement for them to dish out extra money? Okay, this is just my opinion out there. I saw the writing on the wall. These other companies were coming in doing this tiered system, so it's only about time that VIPKid joined in too. And I know it angers a lot of people, and I know some people are losing money because they do want to just do this part-time and they barely make it to 45. I completely understand. I am just personally surprised that they've lasted this long. I am surprised that they kept that old incentive as long as they have. But I knew it was kind of coming. Okay, don't shoot me. Okay, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just kind of throwing that out there. Okay, that's just my personal opinion.
Things that have stayed the same is fortunately, I built up my bookings at the beginning, and I have been able to keep a very good schedule with VIPKid. I have some regulars. I have a level 7 student I have had ever since the beginning of my teaching for VIPKid, and I'm really excited about it. Today I had that same student. He books me about once a week, and I just love it. I have some other students that I have kept for a long period of time. I have a few students that I have on WeChat. I only have maybe 4 or 5 or 6 students on WeChat and a couple of parents. But just having a few is just amazing that I can talk to someone in China. And so that has stayed the same. Wearing orange, that has always been recommended but not required. And so I don't wear orange all the time, but I do wear orange a lot. I like wearing orange. I think it looks good, you know, in your classes. When I see the replays, it looks professional. So I like orange, but I don't always wear orange. Some other things that stayed the same is that a lot of the main courses are the same. They might change a few things here and there, but for the most part, we're traveling through the levels with each student, and the students have 12 classes per unit, and then they move up from one level to the other, and that has stayed the same. They haven't revamped the entire program all at once. Another thing that's really stayed the same is I have found a lot of really great positive teachers on Facebook, on YouTube, and I've really appreciated the camaraderie that we have built up and how we can encourage each other behind the scenes, during classes, through our hard times, through thick and thin, right? Friendships that we didn't realize at the beginning. Like a year ago, we didn't realize that the friendships we had online would carry us through some of these really difficult, in real life moments that we've had to make it through. So that has stayed the same. I have met some really amazing teachers from all over the world, and I'm really thankful for the friendships that we have made. And so all in all, my journey with VIPKid has been amazing. Things have changed. We have made progress in some ways. In some ways, we've had disappointments. But all in all, it's been awesome. And thank you so much, everyone, for watching this video. Thank you for Kasie for making this video. And I hope you guys have a really great day.
Yeah. Okay, going back. So one of the 5 requirements for the raises was parent feedback. Did you know when I started 4 years ago, there was no parent feedback? I mean, parents would email VIPKid saying, I like this teacher, I hate this teacher did this. And so they would hear complaints, or they'd hear stuff, or parents could leave feedback, I think, but it would not be seen to the teacher. The teacher could not see it. And there was this big hoopla when VIPKid said, we're going to let you see the individualized parent feedback. And people going, no, we don't want to see that. We don't want to hear what parents say about our teaching. We don't want to be nitpicked. We don't want this and don't want this. And okay, you know, it's one of those things that it's going to happen, okay? If VIPKid wants to do it, it's going to happen. And so then we were inundated with all this back feedback, okay? I mean, this probably started in 2017 or so. So about a year later, couple months later after I started, 6 months to a year later, and I woke up one morning to like 100 feedbacks, all the way back to my first class. People were leaving feedbacks, and my score was pretty high. It was, you know, I had a lot of 5 apple feedbacks, but I did know, finally I noticed, I got a 4 apple feedback from like my first month. Well, okay. Well, it's been buried amongst all these other feedbacks, so okay, that's fine. But I didn't know that I had a 4 apple feedback for my first month. Now teachers do. Teachers can get those 4 apples in their first month because they're newbies. They don't know what they're doing. They're making mistakes. I made mistakes. And the teacher didn't like it or the parent didn't like it because they wanted to have a more experienced teacher or whatever. And I blubbered up and, it happens. But nowadays, teachers get to see that immediate feedback, and it's kind of a blow to the gut when they get a low score right off the bat and they have to work their way up. I was kind of blessed to not see that. And then was able to see as they came in. And even at the influx, people were lucky to get like 30% feedback. That was kind of the normal, and now it's kind of gone down, way down since then. But not everybody left feedback, even back then. Let's see, I have a list over here. That's what I haven't talked about. Oh, one thing that's kind of fun, and I don't know why they got rid of it, really I don't, is when you're in the classroom and you're teaching the kid and you give them a star, you would see the animation. The stars would go whoop, boom, and they'd like shine over the PowerPoint, kind of cover the PowerPoint for a second and then jump back. Okay, and you'd have that sound. You'd hear the ding, which is kind of a fun sound. I liked it. And I knew that when I clicked the star, I needed to pause. And then I could continue because the stars would block my screen and then I'd continue. Well, at some point, I don't know why they changed it, but they took away the animation. So now when you have the stars and you click the stars over here, you just click it. And you can keep going on. The animation still happens on the student side. They still see the bing, and every once in a while I can hear it and I can see it flash on their faces if they have their headphones in weird. I can hear it. So I have to remember to pause because for like a split second, the star covers their screen and then goes back. It's very fast, it is, but I just have to know to wait. I don't know why they got rid of it. It didn't annoy me at all. It must have annoyed some teachers. There must have been some complaints because I don't know why they got rid of that sound animation. I thought it was kind of fun and helpful. But again, personal opinion. Let's see what else. Oh, I'm sure I'll come up with a whole plethora of more memories of August 2016 to August 2020 and everything that's happened in between. But I do feel like within the last few months, there have been a lot of changes. And I'm just here for the ride. Here we go. They've had a lot of changes in the last couple of years. They have some changes now, and they're going to have some changes in the future. Companies change. They change, they adapt, they change, they tweak things. And we as teachers, we shouldn't be angry about it. If we want to leave, we can leave. If we want to stay, we can stay. It's our choice. So here we are. Bye, everyone.
Wow, from hoodies to feedback, from pay to unit assessments, there have been a lot of changes in VIPKid, and we are here just kind of rolling with it, going with the flow. And thank you so much to the ladies that made this video and all the changes, putting their time into making videos so that I could mash them all together and kind of come up with something for our viewers. Thank you all if you've made it this far into the video. Wow. Thank you so much. Please don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button if you are not subscribed to my channel yet. And let us know in the comments below, what changes do you like in VIPKid? Are there changes that we did not remember to put on here? And let us know what other topics you would like to hear Collaboration Station collaborate on. All right, everybody, thank you so much for coming and happy teaching.
Hello. Welcome to my classroom. Hello. But boy, some students were not happy that the answer is no longer there. But back then it was part-time fun, full-time pay. Oh goodness, I just said it right. Yeah, something about part-time and full-time. Edit that out. So